Hello and welcome back to CIE 2026. We have a wonderful day out ahead of us, and starting us off, let me Trailblazers, student leaders in esports. I'm your host, Spaffles, and here I'm joined by two really outstanding community members. I'm sure you've seen them plenty, no matter which university or college you go to. I want to start things off with Lexi. Lexi, you have been a pretty big force. Congratulations, by the way, for the recent gig with Overwatch World Cup Team Canada. Really, really big news. Why don't you give yourself a quick introduction, and also to throw some spice, what was your first encounter with esports?
Yeah, so my name is Lexi. I am a student at St. Clair College, and I do marketing, events, broadcast. I'm a coach. I do basically anything that you could think of, mostly and mainly marketing, events, and broadcast, I would say. Um, and my first encounter with esports was honestly the time that I played League of Legends for the first time. It was also the time that Worlds was happening, so I saw like the advertisements on the client. And I
Yeah.
mean, ever since then, like I haven't looked back, right? So yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. If you don't mind me asking, what year did you start playing League?
So I actually started playing League pretty like recently. I'm not that
Okay.
old of a League player. I played for the first time in 2020,
Okay.
which is it's pretty new compared to most League players. Like most League players have been playing since like season like 3, season 2, season 4, you know? So
Yeah. I'm sorry, Lex. I'm gonna hold your hand while I say this. That was 6 years ago. Just gonna
okay, but like
perspective.
it's not
Yeah.
that old. It's not that long. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
that long.
we're still radiating our youth, obviously. We got plenty more to go.
Mhm.
And then next up, Justin Bantonio. You are the game head for Marvel Rivals at University of Toronto. You've also been a big mainstay in the Overwatch scene. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So just to introduce myself quickly, my name is Justin. I'm a student at U of T, and I have been community lead at U of T Overwatch for about 5 years, I think, and game head for Marvel Rivals for about 1 year now. It's been a pretty recent thing, and yeah, I've taken part in managing teams and leading other students as well, and leading a lot of community events, and it's been great. My first encounter with esports, I gotta think back because I've been gaming for a while, but
Yeah.
watching esports and encountering esports was a pretty recent thing as well for me. I think the first esports game I watched was the Owl game. I think it was Seoul Dynasty versus Shanghai Dragons in the grand finals,
Ooh,
and
okay.
I remember watching Seoul bottle it very hard. But it was a great experience to watch.
Yeah, throwing me back to the Owl days. Really awesome. I remember Soul Dynasty was actually one of the first skins that I got when they made that collab in the game because it was black and gold. It was really pretty. And then finding out that that team was making it all their way to their finals, that's a pretty nice bonus to have, right? I still remember that to this day, that Hanzo skin I got.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. I had no clue how it worked, but it was great to watch a Korean team go far, and I was rooting for them obviously because I live in Seoul. But yeah,
Yep.
really a big shame watching them flop at the end.
And here's hoping for better days. So, to kick things off with the main segment here of this panel, I want to ask you guys what really sparked your interest in joining your school's esports teams. I do want to start off with you, Lexi. You've had a bit of a history going not only once, but with two different university teams.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I started actually in the esports scene at the University of Windsor, with the University of Windsor's esports club. And honestly, like, like, it was around the time where I first started playing League, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I suck at this game, but you know what? Like, I love it, right? So I reached out to some people, and I got involved in the club. I originally started as a player because we had like a bunch of teams. We had like four different teams at this point. Like, League was bumping back then, right? So
Okay.
I played on one of the lower teams, kind of just for fun, and then eventually I worked my way up through different things. So I started getting involved with like socials, marketing, stuff like that. And then eventually I became vice president of the esports club. And then from this point, I was at a point where I wasn't really a fan of what I was doing in school, and I was ready for a change. So I reached out to St. Clair, and yeah, I mean I ended up coming to St. Clair for just to I guess better experiences, just more opportunities. Obviously, going from a club to like a school funded program offers a really big difference once you live it. But
Yep.
yeah, so coming to St. Clair, immediately hopped on graphics, and then from there I expanded to like literally everything else.
Yeah, super successful. Not only doing it once, but twice. And we're going to touch back on that school funded program thing later because that's a pretty big departure to what I know that University of Toronto does. So, Justin, how about you? What really got you invested in your school esports?
Mm, my first involvement was with U of T Overwatch.
Yeah.
That's when I first applied for. I think I applied for. I'm actually not sure if I applied for community lead or treasurer. I don't think we had a treasurer back then, but something that I felt wasn't too big of a responsibility back then. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's how I got aboard. And over time, I took part in more stuff. I uh, took over manager for Academy Blues, which is back then called Varsity Silver, I think, at one point. And then, yeah, and then I moved on and Rivals came around, and I ended up becoming game head somehow. I actually don't remember exactly what happened. And then,
Yeah.
I just went from there again.
Yeah, I remember those Rivals launch days very fondly. Everyone's so brand new to the game. You come out of Overwatch,
Mhm.
everyone's so jaded. It's a really nice change of pace, and I'm glad that you managed to find your stride, right? You at first wanted to go for one of those, more beginner positions, but when the opportunity really brought itself up, you're able to rise to it. Now, talking about some of that balancing, though. How did you manage to balance your academic responsibilities here with esports? You got any special tips or tricks? Starting with you, Justin.
Um, it's definitely a hard thing because schools, when it gets to busy times, it becomes really hectic. A lot of work to do, a lot of workload. And then there's when you're trying to focus on one thing and then you realize you also have to put in a bit of focus on the other. It becomes a bit hard. What I like to do is always list out what I need. I just always use my to-do list. Basically, I
Yeah.
list out what I need to do and go from one to the other. It's step by step. Might take long, but it gets the job done, and it's gotten me through most of my school time. So I'd say it pretty much works well, and I think it's an easy way to do so.
Yeah, gonna make a to-do list and put starting to-do list as the first thing on that list. Uh, and how about you, Lexi? I know you're a little bit humble with the scope of some of your projects, but how do you stay on topic?
I mean, sometimes it's hard for sure. I'll say like, for example, say it's CELO, I'm producing a stream and my team rescheduled to 7 p.m. and it's a best of five because it's playoffs. And sometimes stuff like that happens and it happens more often than not. Like sometimes I'm still on campus and it's like 1 a.m. And what am I doing? Right. Um,
Yeah.
and I like to say that I write down everything I need to do in a day, but I definitely don't do that. It's not true. I'll say I do it, but I don't do it. Um, so usually I just think about what I have to do on a certain day, or
Yeah.
I think about what's coming up more so. I feel like I mark my timeline with events. So for example, I can even use an example right now. I know I have an event coming
Mhm.
up in 2 weeks called Pressure Point. It's a fighting game
Okay.
event. So when I think of it, I'm like, hey, what now? Like, what is the timeline from there? Okay, well, my COD team's at a land right now, so I have to help with coverage for that, right? And
Yep.
and then moving on from there, I have to finish the graphics for that event, right? So it's just like thinking about the big picture, and then you work on the smaller pieces leading up to it. I guess, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really solid strategy. I do definitely resonate with that. It can be a lot to try and think of everything and tackle it all at once. So being able to distill things down is a pretty valuable skill. I'm sure that'll take you far past your collegiate days as well. So given all that, right, since we're in the spirits of giving advice, right, what is one word that you would give to any aspiring viewers out there, or somebody that is either in college or isn't yet, who might want to take on a leadership role in the future?
Yeah. Well, first thing I would say is you have to be very committed. You have to be very passionate. There's going to be some things that you have to do that you don't want to do. That's just what it is. Especially if you're super passionate about esports. I mean, I'm sure like realistically, what is there to complain about if you get to do what you love? There's still
Yeah,
stuff that happens. People find ways to complain. Like that's just life. But you really have to stay committed and you keep grinding even if you think like what you're doing isn't being noticed. Like it's definitely being noticed. It's being noticed by something or someone. And also always post about what you're doing as well. It's really important to use social media like to your advantage because if you're not posting about it then nobody knows.
yeah.
Mhm.
Always use social media. I got to write that one down for the guys in the back, especially you, Justin. I know you don't have a Twitter yet, but it's not too late to start.
Yeah, I maybe someday in the future.
Yeah. But yeah, when you're talking about it, Lexi, right? You're always talking about being passionate, being super into what you do. When you went into a lot of these more design related goals, did you have a lot of prior experience, or is that something that you sort of picked up while you were on the job?
Well, if you want me to be completely honest, so when I was at the University of Windsor, I did do like some graphics, but it was all through Canva, right?
Yeah.
So coming to St. Clair and talking to our marketing lead, Silver, I told her I was like, listen, I'll do whatever. I did TikToks at the time. I had like a channel just for myself. I made a lot of TikToks. It was it was
Nice.
it was fine. But anyways, so I kind of said I was like, I'll do whatever. I do graphics right now. I met her in person and I was like, yeah, I do graphics right now. And she was like, oh, okay, like, could you use Photoshop? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Like I acted like, I loved Photoshop and I used it all the time. I had never used Photoshop before. I think I used it maybe once, like a 1 week trial, and I used it to make
Yep.
clothes on Roblox. So I never used Photoshop before. Um, But I believe that if you actually put your mind to something and you pretend like you know what you're doing, eventually you'll figure out what you're doing. Like I actually use this for everything. If it's related to design, if it's related to production, if I just pretend like I know what I'm doing, I'll eventually learn what I'm doing. Or of course, if you have questions, and you're with someone who could answer those questions, always ask as well. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I am feeling a little bit inspired there by the Roblox comment. Maybe I'll go and download that Photoshop free trial, give it a shot. But Justin, for you, looking at your leadership role, you've really been super involved with the communities. I see you in University of Toronto discords hosting pugs and all the time. What would you say to somebody who sees that and they say, hey, I want to take up a leadership role?
I would say, you know, don't hesitate. It's it sure is a big job. There's a lot of commitment that's required. But if you feel passionate, if you want to take up such a role and you want to see a future in esports, I'd always say you have to just go for it. Commit, give it a try, especially while you're in university, because where else would you have this experience other than university, right?
True.
So when you have that passion, that enthusiasm, that fire in you to try certain these kind of new experiences, always go for it, grasp it while you can, and give it a try. And no one's gonna hate on you. No one's gonna scold you for doing something wrong. And that's how you grow. You make mistakes on the way. You learn from those mistakes, and you grow, and you take up a larger role in the future. And that's how you go. You go step by step. And that's how I came to my current position. And when you have such a good community around you, I think it's always a great platform for you to try those kind of new experiences and learn from them.
Yep, that's awesome. Super wholesome statement there. I definitely appreciate the pointer and the extra words of encouragement. Because you're absolutely right. University, the biggest change of your life. For many of you, you're moving to a brand new city or you're leaving home for the first time. It's going to be a lot of like a lot of different challenges and a lot of finding yourself as well. So, bursting into the esports scene like that is a pretty nice way to help ground it and really introduce some solid through lines. So, if I say I'm somebody that is now inspired by both of your words, and I'm starting on budding my way into a leadership role, say maybe I'm a team captain or I'm trying to vie for maybe one of the top positions, what do you guys think is a really key quality that makes a leader in competitive gaming? I'll start with you, Lexi.
I think it's just being able to be dedicated to something.
Yeah,
I think that's just 100% the most important thing. If you start something and you have the dedication to go through with it and finish it, I think that's what you need to be a leader and what you need to be successful. And especially in esports, because you see it all the time. People start new orgs every 2 seconds, right? And unfortunately,
yeah,
not everyone has the dedication to follow through and push it to like what it could be, right? So it's just
yeah.
it's just being dedicated. Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes through a ton talking to you two here. The confidence is radiating, and I can tell that both of you are super super into what you do. And Justin, do you parrot that statement as well, or is there something you'd like to add on top of that?
I'd agree. I think dedication is definitely one of the most important qualities. I think on top, communication skills is also one of the
Mhm.
key things, especially when while we move on to university, we're no longer in that small, closed down society in high school where you know almost everyone. Universities, there's more connections outside, more connections with other clubs, other school clubs as well. Like how
Yeah.
we do collabs with SFU sometimes as well. And the key thing there is about how can I communicate efficiently to those other clubs and collaborate properly, because communication is what bonds you together, and it keeps that collab going on further and further, and it can sometimes set up something beautiful that can go on for years and everyone can enjoy.
Yeah, the collaborative aspect is definitely one of the big things, right? Like we're all here out of love of the game. Nobody's being paid, or most people aren't being paid. Some people are being funded by the university. But on that topic, right? You guys come from very different uh university backgrounds, right? How has St. Clair being, a funded esports team really shaped how you approach this role and how it gets carried out?
Um, well, honestly, I think coming from a school that was like 100%, student ran club,
Yeah.
it definitely gave me a different perspective coming into it. I think coming here has opened me up to like so many opportunities that I would have never gotten anywhere else, right? Like for example, Team Canada Overwatch through St. Clair, right? Um,
Yep.
the CLOL CVAL Championship stream that we did last year, we were the official stream partner. I would have never gotten that opportunity if I never came here, right? So it
Yep.
opens it up because we have this facility, right? I'm sitting in our facility right now. I have a breakout room here where I can come into basically anytime that I want to and work on whatever I want. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah.
so even regardless, like without bringing in like bringing up like scholarships and stuff like that, coming here gives you like so many opportunities that you literally just couldn't get anywhere else. Whereas compared to a student funded club, right? I'll say like there's definitely it's a really strong community, and it's like it feels amazing to be involved in something like that, but at the same time,
Yep.
obviously, you might not be able to do the same things that a fully funded varsity program would be able to do because you don't get funds from your school, right? You might not get you like support, like they might not even write a press release about you if your team wins like a national championship, which would definitely like it blows, especially if you
Yeah.
guys are working super hard on something, and there's no recognition. So I think it's definitely like it's a big benefit coming here because of the opportunities, and also I would say just because of the recognition, that we get. A lot of people know St. Clair not for the academics necessarily, but
Yep.
for the esports program. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, it's super awesome. I definitely see the St. Clair name get branded everywhere. You guys absolutely love it. The Saints are, a household name almost in so many of these esports. And, I've also experienced some of that shift. I would go to Toronto Metropolitan back when it was called Ryerson. We had backing from the school. So we all got jerseys that year, and we had that Ryerson logo embossed on the front, and we had some super fancy stuff. And we also had the gaming lab that was opened up. It was really cool to have that. And then you also look at the flip side. I've been working a ton with University of Toronto, where it's a lot of a passion project and it's really well put together, organized fully as a club ran by Kirsten Caprixel. And they do an amazing job with what they've got. Justin, as you've been there a lot longer than I have, what are some of the, benefits that you see to like being a club first?
I think there's definitely more freedom in the sense of, as students, what do we want to do? And
Yeah.
kind of those smaller passion projects, there's definitely more freedom in that aspect because obviously we're not school ran, we don't get funding, so the school doesn't really have much of a say in it. So, those kind of small things where the school doesn't might not really approve of, we can always do. Although I can't really think of any examples that school might be really against. I don't think U of T would be against a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. I think
But
where you
yeah,
were sort of going with that is like, you don't have to do all the formalities. You don't have to send it through multiple rounds. You
yeah,
can kind of just run with ideas and create cool events, right?
yeah, because if we want to do a project and the school's involved, there's going to be a lot of bureaucracy to go through. We have to convince the dean, obviously, and then faculties we got to convince. So it's a it those kind of hurdles are kind of gone for us. So it makes things
Yeah.
really easier for us to kind of do run projects and try new stuff. On the other hand, it's also sometimes a bit of let down that we don't really have the fundings for a lot of things. Sometimes it is a shame, but all in all, we know our situation really well, and we try to do what we can in our current situation. And I think Kirsten's done a great job with the resources we have. So yeah, I think that kind of freedom gives us a bit of a creative happiness, I guess.
And it puts a lot of power back into the hands of you leaders, right? You guys get a lot of
Hmm.
say into, the direction that you go and the events you're able to take on or put down. Um, so now moving on forwards, both of you have a ton of experience with your own respective teams. How has managing a League of Legends team been, and how do you set your goals for an upcoming season?
Yeah, so I used to manage a League of Legends team back when I was at U Windsor.
Yeah.
Now I'm technically a TFT coach at St. Clair.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'll say coaching TFT, or I guess managing TFT compared to League of Legends is definitely different. League of Legends, you really have to focus up, right? You got to book scrims. You have to actually, scrim with your opponents. There's more
yeah.
games. There's more leagues to play in. You could always, solo queue, flex queue. There's so many options you could do. Obviously, maybe flex queue is not that valuable, but there's still so many options you can do to prepare yourself, especially for tougher opponents. You could do draft prep. There's so much you can do in that sense. TFT is definitely a completely other side of the coin. It's pretty self sustaining, I would say. Right? You have players
Yeah.
and they go and play their single player game. Basically just have to remind them, hey guys, it's 8 p.m. It's Monday. It's time for ECAC. So like,
Yeah.
but yeah, TFT definitely doesn't have as many leagues. So you don't really there's not it's not really as I guess convoluted as like League of Legends is, because League of Legends there's so much that you could compete in, right? There's NECC, there's NACE, there's CLOL, there's CIE, no, but like
Yeah.
there's so much you have to compete on, you have to focus on for a game like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of it before. TFT is pretty unique in that it's just a single player
Mhm.
game, like you put it. You show up for tournaments, yes, but a lot of it is more one on one. And transitioning from League of Legends to TFT, was there any challenges that you found across the way? What were some of the harder lessons that you had to learn?
Um, I would say honestly, I don't think there was too many challenges just because
Okay.
of the nature of TFT compared to League of Legends. I would think it would be difficult to transition like the other way around, just because
Yeah.
there's so much more you have to do. And back when I was managing a League of Legends team, I was also a player on the roster, right? So there's even more things to think about. Like I have to play, I
Yeah.
guess recently I could say for a League of Legends team, when our varsity premier team for League of Legends went to NACE, I was technically the League of Legends sub, but I never played
Okay.
because they didn't want to lose. They didn't want to lose, so I never
Oh, don't
played.
let yourself down that much. Come on.
No, but yeah, so I would say like, TFT, there's a team mode that you could play. It's 4 versus 4. So for example,
Okay.
like it's like what they do at like the Esports World Cup and stuff like that. It's 4 versus 4. Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely, I wouldn't say that there was too much of a challenge or any adjustments that really needed to be made. It was more so just like going from, okay, you have to manage like all of this to like, okay, like you have to make sure your players are in the lobby. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're not
Mhm,
managing, we love them all, but a group of, 5 first year, second year university students and all the challenges that do come with that. And,
mhm.
wrangling gamers together to get them to appointments. I definitely can appreciate that.
Mhm.
And then up to you, Justin. Very different experience. A lot of work with the Overwatch and Rivals teams. How has that experience been?
It's been very enjoyable, I'd say. The first time I was managing, I was very lost. Obviously, the first year, I had a very talented group of people playing, and I wasn't sure what I really had to do for them because it's my first time. But moving on, I learned from the mistakes I've made before, and I've got the grasp
Yeah.
of it. It's I just kind of schedule things on their behalf, make sure that they make it. Sometimes some people do fall asleep and never show up. And those are disastrous times, obviously, but I somehow plod through. Sometimes I have to go ahead and play for them. Sometimes I'm able to find one of our emergency subs who are waiting on the roster to come in and play. And yeah, it's all about having those contingency plans ready as well. But all in all, it's a very fun experience. It's a interesting experience.
Yeah,
And
those contingency plans, they come in clutch sometimes. But, now that you've been working through them for a while, you're definitely a lot more comfortable with those situations. What is one of like the big happy moments that you've had in your, leadership career?
mm,
He has to think a while. I don't think this is good.
it's I
Like I don't know. It doesn't have to
honestly,
be a
it's a
tournament
bit hard
win.
because when I try to think back of my experience, for some reason, always the broken moments come up first. So
Yeah.
the heartbreaks come first. So it's I'm trying to think of some great moments. I think
All right.
thinking back, Um, I remember I was really happy when the Academy Blues team were faring really well on the first season of CCL.
Okay.
But then it was followed instantly with heartbreak because they eventually lost a Map 5 banger against Calgary's first team and couldn't make it into semifinals that time, which was a real shame.
Yeah.
But
The
it gave me real happiness because the amount of hard work the players put in that whole year really was paying off because they were playing really well as a team. And I felt like they've all stepped up to a new level. So it was great watching that. It made me pretty happy, but then the heartbreak afterwards was a bit rough.
Yeah, esports always so turbulent. You never know what's going to hit you next. But I'm happy to hear that you had a really good time there with the Varsity Blues. What about you, Lexi? Do you have any happy stories that you can share with us from your time?
Um, honestly, I'd say this is probably my, I guess, the happiest story for me personally. Maybe
Yeah,
some other people might look at things I've done and think otherwise, but I would say for me it was definitely directing CLOL, the CLOL championship. This is like obviously League of Legends to me, it's like my favorite game. It's the whole reason I'm in esports. I think everybody
yeah,
has to have that. Like they have to have a game that got them into esports and it like changed their world kind of thing, right? League is that game for me for sure. And so directed, I directed all the streams up until until the semifinals. So the semifinals was the last streams I did because the grand finals was on LAN. Um, so I mean that was just an amazing experience. And then I remember seeing like they actually put a CLOL ad on the LCS stream.
oh wow.
And it was like literally from the stream that I directed. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like I was on the PC, like in that stream, but nobody
Yeah,
knows, right? But like still, I thought that was like an awesome experience for me personally. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're there. You made it on that big screen. That's super awesome. I'm happy for you. um, but yeah, that really covers a lot of what I wanted to ask you to here. Do we have any shout outs? Anything big that's coming up over the next few weeks? Maybe any personal call outs as well while we're at it. And we'll start with you, Lexi.
Um, honestly, I guess I'm just gonna shout out like the students at St. Clair that I work with. Um, so I'll shout out one who's in the room with me right now, but he's off camera, Lakairu. Um, he's one of my close friends, and honestly, we do a lot of stuff together. So I think students are the whole reason why programs are successful. Even if you're a funded program or if you're a club, obviously, if you're a club, that's definitely the reason, right? But even programs, I think
Yeah,
funded programs, it would be nothing without the students that are behind it. I honestly shout out like literally everybody who works on stuff at St. Clair, right? Emberd, and then my boss, Valerie Silver. I I would. There's just so much that I would have never known if I never met her. So I'm so grateful that I met her. And she came from a club, right, as well, in
yeah.
Toronto. So she definitely like she has that insight, and she I guess elevated me to like a level I would have never been at before. But yeah.
Awesome. Great to see students supporting students. And how about you, Justin?
um, I I'd say I gotta also make a big shout out to everyone that makes this possible, especially everyone at University of Toronto Esports. They do a lot of great work. The staff there, they're incredible. The hard work they put in to make this thing work, make our streams go on, and attract all that funding for us. Big shout out to all of them for making this possible, and big shout out to the community that's so wholesome and welcoming for everyone in the esports community. It's all thanks to them that I'm having a happy time and an enjoyable time managing these clubs and being in this position. And one final shout out to Kirsten. She makes this all possible. One of our greatest game heads and the greatest president for UTES, I'd say. And also, for anyone who didn't know, please tune in for University of Toronto's Marvel Rivals team. They're both our teams actually made it through to playoffs this time. So please tune in for U of T Avengers and Thunderbolts. Hopefully they'll go far and go into finals. Hopefully.
Yeah, a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm going to be on there casting that as well. So super excited for that. But I also have another round of thanks by myself. Right. I would really like to thank the sponsors here for CIE 2026. I want to start off with BMO. So BMO's been a long time sponsor of us at University of Toronto Esports. To help you focus on what's important, BMO has checkings and savings accounts, credit cards, and borrowing options specifically designed for students. You can open a BMO checking a student accounts and get up to $950 in value, including $175 in cash with BMO's current student offers. Visit bmo.com/students for details. They also run a gaming program, which is a pretty big one that I don't really see many other institutes following up on. BMO Next Level is a first of its kind program dedicated to helping gamers level up in game and IRL, run by Sean Frame, BMO's gaming relations specialist. Sean brings a commitment to helping viewers achieve their financial goals and has a passion for gaming as an active member of the gaming community. You can type !BMO or !BMO NXT LVL for more details. You can also go and check out One of Zero. One of Zero has supplied CIE with 6 gaming mice that make you better at what you do. Type !raffle in the chat for a chance to win one of 6 gaming mice supplied by them. Code like a maniac, design like a guru, and game like an assassin. Take pride in your setup and look good while you achieve it all. Discover your inspiration, defy definition, be One of Zero. To learn more, you can type One of Zero in the chat. You'll be followed up to a link where you can go and check them out more. Again, thank you so much for both of you for joining me here on this broadcast today. Thank you all for everyone in the chat, especially. Been seeing a lot of support, a lot of hype for both Lexi and Antonio. So it's been a pleasure to read some of the messages as they go by. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're seeing us here again, we'll be back in about an hour and a half for the next panel, which will be how to launch your career past collegiate and into the real working world. So if you're interested in that, you can make sure to follow our channels to stay up to date. And we'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.